Come on, let's go. Let's go for a walk. Hey everybody, today we are at the Glasgow Necropolis. I've always wanted to come here. This is a Victorian cemetery. It's a wee bit windy, so sorry if it doesn't sound that great. Not just a cemetery, it's a necropolis, which is a city of the dead. And everyone says it's really spooky and it's really haunted. But it's such a beautiful sunny day today. Like, it's kind of hard to feel scared. Really, it's beautiful. Brambles and strawberry bushes, very dark and gothic. So what's interesting is that apparently there are about 50,000 people buried here, but only about 3,500 tombstones. The people who do have tombstones were generally quite well to do. There are a few famous Glaswegians from history buried here. I just thought it'd be nice to have a wander around. I understand that the design was based on the Père Lachaise of Paris, you know, the cemetery that I got kicked out of. I had a lot, and I mean a lot, of ancestors from Glasgow and thereabouts. I sort of wonder if I have some distant ancestor buried here. I'm just going to assume I probably don't. The first grave I've seen here is Robert Todd, which is taught as the German word for dead. Just slightly funny. Let's go. Get out of my shot, tourists. I understand there are catacombs here, and maybe in here, but you can only visit it if you go on one of the tours. I wouldn't mind going on a history tour or something, actually. I love history, I love dark history, I like graveyards, and I like Scotland, so I figured this would be a really good place to visit. We are currently standing on a bridge, which I believe is called the Bridge of Sighs. I understand that one of the most interesting features of this necropolis is the architecture, that you can see examples of many different kinds of architecture. Oh! To the memory of William Miller, the laureate of the nursery, author of Wee Willie Winkie. Oh well, we have to give him a moment. Thank you for all that you have given to children over the generations. Someone called you Wee Willie Winkie the other day, didn't they? You know, I don't get hay fever in New Zealand, but I get it in Europe. The second I stepped outside, I'm like, wet eyes, runny nose. Let's go up here. Oh, getting around with a pram is good exercise. Oh, on me, man. Later, we'll go to the southern necropolis, because there's not just ghosts there, there's a vampire. The Gorbals vampire. That's beautiful. Look, if I ever die, I wouldn't mind if my tomb looked like that one. Like, I would be okay with that. I want a gravestone that's beautiful enough that goths will want to pose on it.
If you ever remember chemistry, can you do chemistry symbols?
Vaguely.
It was a him.
Really?
The symbols.
Did he? Wow, and he's just a little square in the corner there.
Square in the corner. And you could just walk past it and you're like,
yeah, you wouldn't even notice. Humble. It's a humble tombstone. Yeah. I should follow this path around, did you say?
If you just follow that path right the way round.
Oh, that was nice. I think that chap that was talking to me was a tour guide. He had lots of good tips about where to go, what I might like to see. So people who have ancestors here don't tend to come and visit them or leave flowers or anything, which is true. If you look around, there's not a flower or a whirligig to be seen, which is a bit sad. If I had ancestors here, I'd be visiting them all the time. It's beautiful here. I do love a good cartouche. I think it's nice to have a memorial of someone that lasts long after they're gone. Something beautiful made of stone that will last hundreds of years. Given that it's a city of death, and there really are enough people here to make like a pretty significant population, do you think that they party after dark? They have like ghost and skeleton parties? Ooh, this one's rather impressive. Oh, very nice. Very, very nice. Oh, my eyelash is coming off. Oh no! Disaster. I know that I do have a lot of ancestors buried around Glasgow. And I know which cemetery my great-granddad is in. I think his father was kind of like a bit of a well-to-do kind of chap. Like he was a Grand Master Freemason, has like a big fancy tomb somewhere. I've seen a picture of it. I wonder where that is. I wonder if it is in Glasgow. I would really like to find it. knock's kind of a big deal in the Presbyterian world. Big statue, which I think we might have to view from further away. That's better. There's something kind of interesting about this statue, but I can't remember what it is. Very helpful. That one's got Greek written on it. It's quite interesting. Apparently the gates close in 15 minutes, but there are still people coming up, so does that mean that they don't? Ooh, where does it go? I feel like this would be spooky in the dark. It just goes on and on and on and on. Wow, that one's not insignificant. Pretty nice. The southern necropolis in the Gorbals, which is not just a funny word, has a rather good vampire story. And it's not even old, it's from like the 50s. So there are still people living who remember it happening. It would be quite cool to go there in the dark and look for the vampire with the iron teeth that's meant to be 7 foot tall with glowing red eyes. Well, I did say my great grandfather lived here. I just heard a couple of young men point out the grave of a man named Archibald. They were like, Archibald, oh, the names were better then. They're absolutely right. Archibald is a name I have contemplated for children. It is a hand-me-down name in my family. There have been Archies and Archibalds stretching back as long as time knows. I think it's a great name. Good solid name. Oh, I am not going outside again without an antihistamine. Oh. Bumpity, 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 bump. I feel like this bridge would be a bit more beautiful and atmospheric if it weren't for all the traffic passing underneath it. I suppose in the Victorian era it would have just been horses. A good deal quieter, but much smellier. Right, we have come to the southern necropolis, which is actually pretty far away. It's very different. Quite a different sort of atmosphere here. One story in particular I wanted to share with you, because if you know me, you know that I love vampires. I may or may not actually be a vampire, but that would be telling. There have been other entities and things seen here too, like around this area, the Gurning Man. Ghost, that's right. Woof, woof, yes, there was a dog. A lady out walking her dog just stopped and talked to us, and Notey was very happy to see the dog, but she said that this section over here, she said that she won't go to it, that the dog won't go to it, that he freaks out, and she said there's something about this area that just sets her whole body on edge, and she said she grew up here, so she doesn't like this section. So I'm like, well, obviously that's where we're going first. Now I feel nervous. Bumpity 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 bump. I'll tell you more about the wee story first. So it was like 1954, or at least in the 1950s, so not actually that long ago. It's a story that started that 2 boys had been taken and eaten by a vampire who lived here. So the famous event that happened, dozens and dozens of children one night came into this graveyard hunting for the vampire. They brought sticks and stones, blades. You have to understand also that in those days, at the time, vampires weren't the pop culture thing that they are now. I heard in an interview with a man who was one of the children at the time. He'd never heard of a vampire, didn't know what a vampire was. As far as they were concerned, they were looking for a murderer. And it was called the Vampire with the Iron Teeth, and it probably came to have that name because there was like a rather sinister nursery rhyme that was sung at the time about Jenny with the iron teeth who would come and tuck the bairns. They also said that like the atmosphere was great, that it was a real adventure, but of course they were in a good deal of trouble with their parents afterwards. Alright, in we go. She said she won't go in here, and the dog won't go in here. Why? I guess I feel like a little bit tight in the chest, but that could be because that lady told me that I ought to be afraid of this area. It's so sad when they get all, I mean, it looks very beautiful, right, but it's still quite sad when they get all grown over like that, you know. At least the ivy looks really pretty, but it's still quite sad. These were people's families, mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers. And nobody comes and puts flowers on them anymore. Oh, these are all very broken, look. I don't know, I don't want to go like close. Does that make sense? I don't want to go any closer? No, but she's right. It doesn't feel quite the same in this area. It doesn't. I don't think I would want to come here at night. Of all the kind of haunted places I've been, this is not very scary. Oh, and I said to the lady, well, at least the sun's up. She said, the sun makes no difference, hen. Was that spooky? You can see that there are tombstones there, but they're completely covered up with ivy. I found the white lady. This is a very famous little statue. Apparently, if you walk around the statue 3 times and say, white lady, you will turn into stone. I am not going to test it and find out. There's actually 2 women buried here. A woman and her lady's maid died tragically in a tram accident. The spirit of a lady in white, a lady dressed in white with long dark hair, often seen wandering the cemetery at night. I understand that a similar looking spirit is really a thing of folklore in many parts of the world, so maybe there's something to that. I'm sure it was a very lovely statue when it was first made. Thank you so much for joining me visiting the Glasgow Necropolis and the Southern Necropolis. There are other local cemeteries and spooky haunted locations I'm very keen on visiting. If you have not already subscribed to my lovely spooky channel, please do so. That would be nice. And as always, take care of yourself, be nice to each other, stay spooky, and I will see you next time.